being, there was a certain level of corruption, inadequacy, perhaps at least if Jain and Buddhist texts are to be believed, indiscriminate slaughter of animals for high sacrifices, that led to the ideas of a philosophy that said, well, we don't want this to in fact persist. They also talk about new relationships between the divine and the individual. One of the things that are very important in these first movements that challenge the Brahmanic orthodoxy of the time is that we see the emergence of individual figures, charismatic figures, like the Mahavira amongst the Jain, and of course of Gautam Buddha amongst what became the Buddhist, where they clearly reject various Hindu norms of being and also belief systems in terms of what we would call notions of cosmology, notions of right conduct, notions of social hierarchy. These ideas, which are coterminous with how religion presides over the world, when they're challenged, it rises and raises this new particular, it prepares the ground for the acceptance of new ideas. Now, this is, of course, in the past, quite a distant past. Similar kinds of movement occurred in the 16th century in North India, where there was the birth of the Sikh faith, Sikhism, which emerged in the Punjab in North India. It emerged at a time when political power had shifted and was controlled by Muslim dynasties in North India. And it was a faith that Guru Nanak brought forth, where again he talks about the unity of man. He takes some of the best ideas in Islam and some of the best ideas in Hindu belief systems. He speaks about the negation of caste, the idea that one is equal before the Lord, and everybody can be, in fact, a person before the Lord. You don't have to be born into a certain status. So obviously this was something that was found to be very attractive, and what we see Sikhs subsequent to him, and that they wear a particular form of dress and they appear in certain kinds of ways, came later as a way to mark their out. I won't go into that right now. That's not really what is germane here. Even though their identity shifted in the latter part, the Sikhs had a system that Guru Nanak was the first Guru, and there were a succession of 8 Gurus, after which the Guruship lapsed and there was no Guru. But Guru Gobind Singh, the last Guru, laid out certain norms. He militarized or made militants of a section of the Sikh people. And he is the one who prescribed that they should have long hair, and there are several cases. They have to have a comb, carry a knife, wear shorts. In other words, he said that they had an obligation to protect the people and turn them into a militant force to fight against the injustices of Muslim power in the north at that time. But nonetheless, the more enduring legacy is this legacy of bringing people of any faith together under a Sikh vision. So if that was in the 16th century, we now come closer to the time that when there is disruption or dissatisfaction, and disruption can be political, it can also be economic, it can be caused by other forces, natural forces. In the 18th century, especially in Gujarat and all over North India, the central authority of the Mughal Empire was beginning to decline. and there was a lot of contention for overlordship. Who was going to step into the shoes of the Mughals, who had dominated politics in North India from in the 16th, 17th, and early parts of the 18th century. But this authority was fraying, and so there was a lot of regional bucking and positioning for power. And this meant that there was a lot of ferment, authority being unknown, a lot of the local forces, local configurations, local coalitions led to political instability. Political instability often means economic instability. And it was in this ferment where moral and authority, social authority and political authority was being questioned, that the new ideas or different ideas could come into being, because there was a lacuna that could be filled. Now, of course, there were many emerging forces that filled those lacunas, but in the religious domain, I think this is very important to note, that the Swaminarayan sect came into being, at least at that time, it was it had a fertile ground in which to grow in Gujarat. And why it grew particularly in Gujarat, I don't know enough about, but certainly it was able to attract to itself people from many faiths. When I say many faiths, I mean restricted by and large to persons of the Hindu faith. If there were any conversions, which I'm not aware of, but if they were, they would be extraordinary. But people who believed in the goddess, or believed in Vishnu or Shiva in the various schools, or Shakti, they chose not to abandon. No person of the Swaminarayan faith say he's not a Hindu. So in that sense, I don't believe any of them say that we do not believe in Krishna or Rama or Vishnu or Shiva or Shakti, the presiding deities, or even Ganesh. But they say, they use the idea of Ishtadev. Ishtadev means my chosen Lord, our chosen Lord. So each Hindu chooses his deity. He belongs to the whole, he believes in the whole pantheon, he or she, but they choose to direct their worship and their surrender to a chosen God. Isht means I've chosen. And in the Swaminarayan movement, that's what they chose. They chose this particular orientation, this particular interpretation, this particular vision of the divine, and in giving their faith to the Swaminarayan movement, and especially the Swaminarayan principles, because they are not simply principles of religious ethos and philosophy. They are also very strong guidance about how to conduct your life. What is it that you have to do to live a moral life, a responsible life in terms of your obligations to your fellow man? What is it that you have to do for the faith that you have chosen to adopt? Many people who were born in one other faith will embrace, this is something that happens even at the present time, will embrace the Swaminarayan faith and adopt its everyday principles, their principles, life constructing principles. They will give up certain eating habits, they will give up certain clothing habits, they will give up certain ways of thinking, and adapt and adhere to the principles of the Swaminarayan prescription. One of the most important ideas, and this is not, I'm not a student of the Swaminarayan faith, but based on my conversations with others whom I know, who in Drangadra, which is my hometown, or other people who happen to talk to me, is that it is in the kind of tumult of